The rain fell over Seoul like a curtain of grief, streaking down the floor-to-ceiling windows of Han Corporation's executive tower. Inside the chairman's private office, two people sat across from each other at a mahogany desk. Divorce papers spread between them like a battlefield neither had wanted to enter. Han Si-woo signed his name without hesitation. His face betrayed nothing. Talani Ajayi signed second. Her hand trembled, but her expression remained composed. Neither spoke. Neither looked at the other. The attorneys collected the documents and excused themselves, leaving behind only the sound of rain and two hearts silently breaking. 8 months passed. Late one night, inside the penthouse of Seoul's most powerful man, a private phone rang. Only 4 people in the world had that number. Si-woo frowned, lifting the device. A trembling voice spoke. "Mr. Han, I'm calling from St. Gabriel Medical Center. There's someone here who listed you as the emergency contact." His jaw tightened. "Who?" The nurse hesitated. "Talani Ajayi? And your infant son." Silence consumed the room. The phone nearly slipped from his hand. "Please like, share and subscribe. And don't forget to comment where you're watching from so I can see just how far across the world this story has reached." The words echoed in Si-woo's mind like gunshots. Your infant son. He hadn't moved in 30 seconds. The rain continued its assault against the windows, but he heard nothing except the blood rushing through his ears. "Mr. Han." The nurse's voice wavered through the phone. "Are you still there?" He forced himself to breathe. What happened to her? She collapsed from exhaustion. "The baby is fine, but we need someone to—" "I'm on my way." He ended the call. For a moment, he simply stood there, his reflection staring back at him from the rain-streaked glass. The city lights of Seoul glittered below like scattered diamonds, but he saw none of it. His mind was 8 months in the past. The divorce had been his idea. He told himself it was the only way to protect her. The rival syndicates were circling. Nam Do-hyuk had been making threats. And Talani, beautiful, gentle Talani, had no place in the violence that surrounded his world. So he pushed her away. He convinced himself she would be safer without him. He never imagined she was carrying his child. Si-woo grabbed his coat and moved toward the door. His steps were measured, controlled, the same way he approached every crisis. But this was different. This wasn't business. This was her. The black Maybach cut through the rain-soaked streets of Seoul like a blade. Kwon Jae-min sat in the driver's seat, stealing glances at his boss through the rearview mirror. In 15 years of service, he had never seen Si-woo like this. The chairman's hands were clasped together, knuckles white. The letters inked across them, loyal on the right, honor on the left, seemed to pulse with tension. "Boss," Jae-min said carefully. "What's happening?" Si-woo's voice was barely above a whisper. "She had my child." The car swerved slightly before Jae-min corrected it. "She—" "What?" "Talani. She had a baby. My son." Jaemin's grip tightened on the steering wheel. 8 months, Si-woo continued, his tone hollow. For 8 months, she raised him alone. She never called, never asked for anything. Why would she keep this from you? Si-woo didn't answer, but he knew. He knew exactly why. Because he had made her believe she wasn't wanted. St. Gabriel Medical Center rose against the night sky like a sanctuary of white walls and fluorescent lights. Si-woo stepped out of the car before it fully stopped. Rain soaked through his black overcoat within seconds, but he didn't notice. He moved through the hospital entrance like a man possessed, his tall frame cutting through the late-night crowd. Staff members recognized him immediately. Chairman Han Si-woo was not a face anyone forgot, but no one dared approach. His presence commanded silence. At the reception desk, a young nurse looked up and immediately straightened. "Mr. Han, Dr. Choi is waiting for you on the 3rd floor." He didn't respond. He simply walked toward the elevator. Dr. Choi Eun-seo met him in the corridor. She was a composed woman in her 40s, her white coat pristine despite the late hour. "Chairman Han," she greeted him with a slight bow. "Thank you for coming so quickly. What happened?" His voice was sharp, urgent. Dr. Choi gestured for him to follow as she spoke. Ms. Ajayi collapsed this evening from severe exhaustion and mild malnutrition. She's been running herself into the ground, working multiple jobs while caring for her infant son alone. Her body simply gave out. Siwoo's chest constricted. Where is she? Resting now. We've stabilized her, but she needs proper care and rest. Weeks of it. They stopped outside a private room. Through the small window, Siwoo could see her. Tolani lay in the hospital bed. Her long jet-black hair spread across the white pillow like spilled ink. Even in exhaustion, even with dark circles under her eyes, she was beautiful. Heartbreakingly beautiful. His throat tightened. And the child? Dr. Choi's expression softened. Perfectly healthy. He's in the nursery down the hall. Would you like to see him? Siwoo didn't trust himself to speak. He simply nodded. The nursery was quiet. Only 2 infants occupied the small room, both sleeping peacefully beneath soft blankets. A nurse led Siwoo to a bassinet near the window. This is him, she said gently. Baby Ethan. Siwoo looked down, and the world stopped. The baby was small, impossibly small, wrapped in a cream-colored blanket. Soft black hair covered his tiny head, and his features were delicate, peaceful in sleep. But it was the eyes that stole Siwoo's breath. The infant stirred slightly, lids fluttering open for just a moment. Dark charcoal gray, exactly like his own. Siwoo gripped the edge of the bassinet. This was his son. There was no question, no doubt. The resemblance was undeniable. The serious expression, the shape of his face, those haunting gray eyes. She named him Ethan, the nurse offered softly. Ethan Han. Han. She had given him his father's name. Even after everything, she had given the child his name. Siwoo's hand moved without his permission, reaching toward the baby. His finger brushed against Ethan's tiny fist, and the infant's fingers curled around it instinctively, gripping with surprising strength. Something cracked inside Siwoo's chest. A wall he had spent years building. A fortress of control and discipline. Crumbled in an instant. He stayed like that for several minutes, just watching, just breathing. His mind was a storm of questions, accusations, and regret. Why didn't she tell me? Why did she carry this burden alone? What kind of man am I that she felt she couldn't come to me? When he finally pulled away, his expression had hardened again. But something behind his eyes had changed. Jaemin was waiting in the corridor when Siwoo emerged from the nursery. Boss. Station 2 men outside her room. No one enters without my permission. Done. What else? Siwoo's jaw tightened. Find out everything. Where she's been living. Where she's been working. Who she's been in contact with. Jaemin nodded slowly. And if someone's been watching her? Siwoo's eyes darkened. Then I want names. The next 48 hours were a blur. Siwoo didn't leave the hospital. He sat in the chair beside Talani's bed, watching her sleep. Nurses came and went, checking vitals, adjusting IVs. They all avoided making eye contact with the chairman. His presence was intimidating even in stillness. Talani woke once, briefly, in the middle of the first night. Her hazel-brown eyes fluttered open, unfocused and confused. Ethan, she whispered. Where's my baby? Siwoo leaned forward. He's safe. He's here. Sleep. Her eyes found his face. For a moment recognition flickered. Then fear. No. She tried to sit up. No, you can't. You can't be here. Tolani. Please. Her voice cracked. Please don't take him from me. The words hit him like a physical blow. She thought he would take the child. She thought he had come to punish her. I'm not here to take anyone, he said quietly. I'm here because you needed help. She searched his face, looking for the lie. She found none. Her body relaxed slightly, exhaustion pulling her back under. I'm sorry, she whispered before sleep claimed her again. I'm so sorry. Siwoo sat back. His hands were trembling. By the second day, Dr. Choi had cleared Talani for visitors. Siwoo waited until she was fully awake before entering the room. She was sitting up now, her long black hair brushed back from her face. Someone had brought her fresh clothes, a soft ivory sweater that made her rich brown skin glow despite her fatigue. She looked up when he entered. Neither spoke for a long moment. Then Talani's gaze dropped to her hands. "How did you find out?" "You listed me as your emergency contact." She closed her eyes. "I forgot to change it." "You never changed your last name either." Her breath hitched. Siwoo moved closer, stopping at the foot of the bed. 8 months, Talani. You had my child and said nothing. I know. You let me believe you had moved on, started a new life. I know. You raised him alone, worked yourself to exhaustion, nearly died. I know. His voice dropped. Why? She finally looked up. Her eyes were wet. Because you didn't want me anymore. The words hung in the air like smoke. Siwoo's expression cracked, just slightly. That's what you believed? That's what you showed me. Her voice trembled. You came home one day and said our marriage was a mistake. You said I didn't belong in your world. You had the papers drawn up before I could even ask questions. I was trying to protect you. From what? From everything. His voice rose before he caught himself. Do you have any idea what was happening? The threats? The surveillance? Nam Do-hyuk had your photograph on his desk. He was planning to use you against me. Talani's face paled. What? He wanted leverage. And you? Siwoo's hand clenched at his side. You were my only weakness. The only person I couldn't afford to lose. So you pushed me away. I did what I thought was necessary. You broke my heart. He flinched. I know. Talani wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks after the divorce was finalized. I tried to call you. Multiple times. Siwoo frowned. I never received any calls. Your assistant said you were unavailable. That you had requested no contact from me. His blood turned cold. Who told you that? Someone from your office. A woman. Siwoo's mind raced. He had never given such an order. Someone had intercepted her calls. Someone had wanted them apart. The realization hit him like a freight train. This wasn't just about the divorce. This was sabotage. Someone had deliberately severed their communication, ensured that Talani believed she was unwanted, and isolated her completely. I never told anyone to block you, he said quietly. I would never have done that. Talani stared at him. Then who did? He didn't answer, but he had his suspicions. That evening, Siwoo stood in the nursery again. Ethan was awake this time, his gray eyes tracking movement across the room with surprising alertness. Siwoo reached into the bassinet and carefully lifted his son. The baby was warm against his chest, lighter than he expected, fragile. For a man who had commanded empires and crushed rivals, this small creature was the most terrifying thing he had ever held. Ethan, he said softly. The baby blinked up at him. I'm your father. No response, of course. Just those piercing gray eyes, studying him with the same intensity Siwoo used when analyzing enemies. Despite everything, Siwoo felt his lips twitch, the smallest hint of a smile. You look like me, he murmured. Your mother must hate that. Jaemin's report arrived the following morning. Siwoo read it in the hospital corridor, his expression darkening with every page. Talani had been living in a small apartment in Mapogu, one of Seoul's more affordable districts. She had been working 3 jobs, designing interiors for a small firm during the day, freelancing at night, and taking weekend commissions to cover expenses. She hadn't touched a single one from the divorce settlement. The account he had set up for her remained untouched, the money sitting there like a monument to her pride. And then there were the photographs, surveillance images from various locations around the city. Someone had been watching her, following her, documenting her movements for months. Siwoo's hand crushed the edge of the folder. Who took these? Jaemin's voice was grim. We traced them back to a private security firm. The firm has connections to Nam Do-hyuk's organization. Of course, Nam Do-hyuk. The man had been circling for years, waiting for an opportunity to strike. He controlled a rival syndicate that operated primarily in human trafficking and weapons smuggling, businesses Siwoo had systematically dismantled. Do-hyuk wanted revenge, and he had found the perfect target. He's been tracking her since before the divorce, Jae-min continued. We believe he may have also planted the assistant who blocked her calls. Find that assistant. Already on it. Si-woo set the folder down. His eyes were cold, calculating. And Do-hyuk? Jae-min hesitated. He's been quiet lately. Too quiet. Some of our sources say he's planning something big, but no one knows what. Si-woo turned toward Talani's room. Through the window, he could see her sleeping peacefully. Innocent. Vulnerable. The mother of his child. Double the security detail, he ordered. I want eyes on every entrance. Every exit. No one gets close to her without my knowledge. Consider it done. Si-woo's jaw tightened. And prepare the safe house in Gangnam. I'm moving her and the baby tonight. Talani resisted, of course. I'm not going anywhere with you. She stood by the hospital bed, her arms crossed over her ivory sweater. Despite her weakened state, there was fire in her hazel eyes. Si-woo had forgotten how stubborn she could be. This isn't optional. Everything with you is optional now. We're divorced, remember? There are people watching you, Talani. Dangerous people who want to hurt you because of your connection to me. She faltered slightly. What people? The same people who intercepted your calls. Who made sure you believed I had abandoned you. Her face paled. I don't understand. Neither did I. Not until now. Si-woo stepped closer. Someone orchestrated our separation. They wanted us apart and they succeeded. But they didn't count on Ethan. Talani's hand moved instinctively to her stomach. A protective gesture even though their son was safely in the nursery. What does our baby have to do with this? Everything. Si-woo's voice was low. He's my heir. My only weakness. And now that they know he exists, they won't stop until they've found a way to use him against me. Fear flickered in her eyes. Real fear. You can't let anything happen to him. I won't. He held her gaze. But I need you to trust me. Trust. Such a simple word. Such an impossible request. You destroyed my trust 8 months ago, she whispered. I know. And I will spend the rest of my life earning it back. He reached out, his fingers brushing against hers. But right now, I need you to let me protect you. Both of you. Talani looked down at their hands. His skin was warm. Familiar. She had missed that warmth more than she wanted to admit. Fine, she said finally. But this doesn't change anything between us. Si-woo nodded. I know. But as he helped her gather her things, his mind was already racing ahead. She was wrong. This changed everything. The safe house in Gangnam was less a house and more a fortress. Hidden behind walls of glass and steel, it occupied the top 3 floors of one of Seoul's most exclusive residential towers. Security cameras monitored every angle. Armed guards patrolled every entrance. Talani entered the space and immediately felt out of place. Everything was sleek, modern, expensive. Nothing like the modest apartment she had called home for the past 8 months. This is temporary, Si-woo assured her, sensing her discomfort. Just until we neutralize the threat. She didn't respond. Instead, she moved toward the nursery that had been prepared for Ethan. The room was beautiful, soft gray walls, elegant furniture, carefully chosen toys. Everything a baby could need. Too perfect. Too prepared. You did this in less than 24 hours? I have resources. Talani turned to face him. Money can't fix everything, Si-woo. I know. It can't buy back time. It can't erase the months I spent wondering if I would ever see you again. I know. And it certainly can't. Her voice broke. She pressed a hand to her mouth, fighting back tears. Si-woo moved toward her, stopping just inches away. I'm not trying to buy forgiveness, he said quietly. I'm trying to keep you alive. She looked up at him. For a moment, she saw past the cold exterior, past the Mafia boss and the corporate chairman. She saw the man she had married, the man she had loved, the man who was staring at her now with something raw and painful in his charcoal gray eyes. I missed you, she admitted. the words escaping before she could stop them. His breath caught. "Every single day," she continued. "Even when I hated you. Even when I told myself I was better off alone. I missed you." Siwoo's hand rose slowly. His fingers brushed against her cheek, wiping away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. "I never stopped thinking about you," he confessed. "Not for one moment." The air between them shifted, charged, dangerous. But before either could speak again, a soft cry came from the nursery. Ethan was awake. The spell shattered. Talani pulled away, moving quickly to tend to their son. Siwoo watched her go. His hand remained suspended in the air for a moment longer. Then he let it fall. The next few days established a cautious routine. Talani cared for Ethan while regaining her strength. Siwoo divided his time between the safe house and his corporate headquarters, managing both the legitimate and illegitimate aspects of his empire while coordinating the search for Nam Do-hyuk. They existed in the same space but maintained careful distance. She didn't trust him. He didn't push. But small moments began to accumulate. He brought her favorite tea, Nigerian ginger, without being asked. She let him hold Ethan during the early morning hours when the baby refused to sleep. Their conversations remained surface level, polite, but their eyes said far more. One night, Siwoo returned late to find Talani on the living room couch. Ethan was cradled against her chest, sleeping peacefully. She looked up as he entered. "Rough day." He loosened his tie, sinking into the chair across from her. "Something like that." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Talani asked the question that had been haunting her. "Did you ever love me? Or was I always just a mistake?" Siwoo's entire body went rigid. "How can you ask me that?" "Because you said it. The day you asked for the divorce. You said our marriage was a mistake." He closed his eyes. "I lied." Her heart stuttered. "What?" "I lied, Talani." He opened his eyes, and she saw the truth there, raw, unfiltered. "Our marriage was the only real thing in my life. You were the only person who ever saw me as more than a weapon. More than a name to be feared." His voice dropped. "I loved you. I still love you. I never stopped." The confession hung in the air, heavy, overwhelming. Talani felt tears building again. "Then why?" "Because I was afraid." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I've never been afraid of anything, Talani. Not death, not enemies, not violence. But losing you." He shook his head. "That terrified me. So I convinced myself that pushing you away was the same as protecting you. It wasn't. I know that now." She looked down at Ethan, sleeping so peacefully in her arms. Their son. The product of a love she had tried so hard to bury. "I was scared too," she admitted quietly. "When I found out I was pregnant, I wanted to tell you. I needed you. But every time I tried, someone blocked you." She nodded. "I thought you hated me. I thought you wanted nothing to do with me or anything connected to our marriage." Siwoo's hands clenched. "I will find out who did this, and I will make them pay." There was no threat in his voice, just cold, certain promise. Talani shivered. "And after? When the threat is gone? What happens then?" He held her gaze. "That depends on you." 2 days later, the investigation bore fruit. Jaemin arrived at the safe house with a file and a grim expression. "We found her, the assistant who blocked Ms. Ajayi's calls." Siwoo took the file. Inside was a photograph of a young woman, mid-20s, unremarkable features. "Park Mi-yun," Jaemin reported. "She worked in your executive office for 6 months during the period of the divorce. She was dismissed shortly after for irregularities in her work." "Who hired her?" "Her employment records were impeccable. Background checks came back clean. But we dug deeper." He handed over a second document. "Her mother received payment from an offshore account traced to companies controlled by Nam Do-hyuk. The total exceeded 300 million won." Siwoo's grip tightened on the folder. 300 million. That was the price someone had paid to destroy his marriage. "Where is she now?" "Hong Kong. She fled Seoul 3 months ago." Jaemin paused. "We can have her within 48 hours. Bring her." There was no emotion in Siwoo's voice, but his eyes were murder. Talani learned about the discovery that evening. She sat at the dining table, Ethan in a bassinet beside her. As Siwoo explained what his team had uncovered, her face grew paler with every word. So someone paid to separate us? Not someone. Nam Do-hyuk, the same man who threatened you before our marriage. She remembered, vaguely. There had been whispers shortly after she and Siwoo began dating. Anonymous messages warning her to stay away. Photographs of her family in Nigeria, delivered without explanation. Siwoo had handled it, or so she thought. He didn't stop, she realized. No, he simply changed tactics. Siwoo's voice was hard. He couldn't threaten you openly without risking retaliation from me. So he found another way. He made you believe I didn't want you. He made sure you had nowhere to turn. And the surveillance? The photographs? Leverage. For future use. Talani felt sick. What does he want? Siwoo's jaw tightened. He wants to destroy me. Taking you was just the beginning. Her hand found Ethan's bassinet instinctively. And our son. He won't touch either of you. Siwoo's voice dropped to something primal. I swear on my life. That night, Talani couldn't sleep. She wandered into the living room and found Siwoo standing by the window, staring out at the city lights. He had removed his jacket. His shirt sleeves were rolled up. She could see the edges of his tattoos now, the intricate Korean artwork that covered both his arms. She had always loved tracing those designs with her fingers, feeling the stories inked into his skin. A breathtaking black and gray Korean dragon wound down the side of his neck, its scales and surrounding storm clouds rendered in extraordinary detail. The dragon's fierce gaze faced upward, surrounded by swirling smoke and delicate mugunghwa blossoms, a symbol of unwavering leadership and absolute control. His arms were masterpieces of Korean black and gray realism. A roaring white tiger dominated one forearm. A soaring phoenix spread its wings across the other. Ancient guardian lion statues, traditional temple gates, and mountain landscapes flowed seamlessly from shoulder to wrist, connected by rolling storm clouds and elegant Joseon-inspired brush shading. On his knuckles, the words loyal and honor stood bold and permanent. She had forgotten how beautiful he was, how dangerous, how utterly hers he had once been. He sensed her presence without turning. You should be resting. So should you. He didn't argue. She moved to stand beside him, close enough to feel his warmth but not quite touching. I used to watch you like this, she admitted. When we were married, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and find you standing exactly like this, staring at nothing. I was usually thinking about you. Her heart ached. What were you thinking? He finally turned to face her. In the dim light, his gray eyes seemed almost silver. That I didn't deserve you, that you were too good for this life. That eventually, you would realize your mistake and leave. So you left first. I thought it was kindness. It was cruelty. I know. She searched his face, looking for deception. She found only regret. I need time, she said finally, to process all of this, to figure out what I feel. Take all the time you need. And I need you to be patient with me. I'm not the same woman you married. I've been through things alone that I never should have faced alone. I understand. She took a breath. But I also need you to know something. He waited. When you held Ethan for the first time, when I saw you look at our son, something shifted inside me. Her voice wavered. I don't know what it means yet, but I felt it. Siwoo's hand moved. Slowly, carefully. He tucked a strand of jet-black hair behind her ear. That's enough for now, he said quietly. That's more than enough. Morning arrived with unexpected visitors. Mama Ifioma appeared at the safe house entrance, her presence announced by the building's security team with obvious confusion. She was a stout Nigerian woman in her 60s, draped in vibrant Ankara fabric despite the Korean winter. Her salt and pepper hair was wrapped in a matching geli, and her dark eyes sparkled with warmth. Talani nearly burst into tears when she saw her. Mama! The older woman wrapped her in a fierce embrace. My child. My stubborn, foolish child. She pulled back, examining Talani's face with critical eyes. You look thin. Have you been eating? I'm fine, Mama. You are not fine. You collapsed and ended up in the hospital. That is the opposite of fine. Talani had no argument. Mama Ifioma turned her attention to the bassinet, where Ethan was observing the newcomer with his usual serious expression. And this is the little one. Her face softened. Oh, he has your eyes, Talani. He has his father's eyes. Mama Ifioma's expression shifted. Speaking of which, she glanced around the penthouse. Where is this man who let you carry his child alone for 8 months? Mama, it's complicated. It always is. Men make everything complicated. Siwoo chose that moment to enter from the adjacent room. He had clearly been listening. Mama Ifioma looked him up and down with unimpressed scrutiny. So you're the famous Han Siwoo. He inclined his head respectfully. And you must be Mama Ifioma. Talani spoke of you often. Did she? Did she tell you I warned her about marrying a man whose name makes people whisper? Mama! Hush, child. Adults are talking. Siwoo's lips twitched. She did mention your directness. Then you know I don't waste words. Mama Ifioma stepped closer, looking up at him despite their significant height difference. This girl loved you. She left everything. Her home, her family, her country. For you. And what did you give her in return? Siwoo's jaw tightened. Heartbreak, he admitted. I gave her heartbreak. Mama Ifioma studied him for a long moment. Something in his eyes must have satisfied her, because her expression softened slightly. At least you don't lie about it. She turned back to Talani. He may be worth saving after all. Talani's face flushed. Mama, please. What? I'm old. I say what I think. She moved toward the couch, settling herself with regal confidence. Now, someone make me tea while you explain how you plan to fix this mess. The conversation lasted 3 hours. Mama Ifioma listened as Siwoo explained everything. The threats, the manipulation, the divorce he had believed necessary. She listened as Talani described the loneliness, the fear, the determination to protect her child even without resources or support. And when both had finished, the older woman sat in contemplative silence. Finally, she spoke. Pride. That's what I see in both of you. Too much pride. Mama, don't interrupt me, child. She fixed them with a stern gaze. You, she pointed at Siwoo. You were too proud to share your burdens with your wife. You decided alone that she couldn't handle the truth. Siwoo didn't argue. And you, she turned to Talani, you were too proud to fight for your marriage. When the first obstacle appeared, you retreated instead of demanding answers. Talani's eyes dropped. Pride builds walls between people, Mama Ifioma continued. It convinces us that suffering alone is strength. But suffering alone is just suffering. She reached out, taking both their hands in hers. You have a child now, a beautiful boy who deserves both his parents. Whatever you felt for each other, whatever you still feel, put it aside for him. Her eyes moved between them. Learn to be partners again. Learn to communicate. Learn to trust. And if we can't? Talani's voice was small. Then at least you tried. Mama Ifioma squeezed their hands. But I think you can. I see how you look at each other. That kind of love doesn't die easily. After Mama Ifioma left, Siwoo retreated to his study. His private phone buzzed with an incoming message. He checked it and froze. It was a photograph. Talani and Ethan, taken through the window of the safe house's living room. The caption read, Did you think walls could keep me out? Siwoo's blood ran cold. Nam Do-hyuk had found them. The next 12 hours were chaos. Security protocols activated. Teams deployed. The entire building went into lockdown while Siwoo's men swept every floor for breaches. Talani held Ethan close, her heart racing as armed guards moved through the penthouse. What's happening? She demanded when Siwoo finally appeared. His face was granite. We're moving. Again. He found this location. I don't know how, but he did. His eyes met hers. I won't take chances with your safety. Where will we go? He hesitated. Somewhere no one knows about. Somewhere only I can access. She saw the weight on his shoulders. The fear he was trying to hide. Si-woo. He looked at her. Whatever happens, she said quietly, we face it together. No more decisions without me. He held her gaze for a long moment, then nodded. Together. The new location was a compound outside the city. Hidden in the forested hills of Gyeonggi province, it looked like a traditional Korean estate from the outside. But Si-woo had transformed the interior into a modern fortress, complete with underground bunkers, satellite communication, and a private security force. Talani and Ethan were installed in a suite of rooms overlooking a peaceful courtyard. It was beautiful. It was also a prison. But she understood the necessity. Nam Do-hyuk had made his intentions clear. He wouldn't stop until he had destroyed everything Si-woo loved. Days passed. The investigation continued. Park Mi-eun was extracted from Hong Kong and brought to Seoul for questioning. Si-woo conducted the interrogation personally. The woman broke within an hour. Yes, she had blocked Talani's calls. Yes, she had been paid by someone connected to Nam Do-hyuk. Yes, she knew the plan was to isolate Talani until she believed her marriage was over. Why? Si-woo asked quietly. Mi-eun's face was tear-streaked. They said no one would get hurt. They said it was just about politics, business rivalry. I didn't know about the surveillance or the threats. But you knew you were destroying a marriage. She had no answer. Si-woo stood, looking down at her without expression. You'll cooperate with the authorities. You'll testify against Nam Do-hyuk when the time comes. In exchange, I won't pursue you personally. Relief flooded her face. Thank you. Don't thank me. His voice dropped. I'm only showing mercy because my wife asked me to. Mi-eun's eyes widened. But Si-woo was already walking away. That evening, he found Talani in the courtyard. She was sitting on a stone bench, Ethan sleeping in her arms. The sunset painted the sky in shades of gold and rose, casting warm light across her features. She looked like a painting, a masterpiece he had almost lost. She talked, he said, settling beside her. I heard. The testimony will help build a case against Do-hyuk. But it's not enough to bring him down. Talani nodded slowly. What happens next? Si-woo was quiet for a moment. I've spent 15 years building power, accumulating influence, making myself untouchable. He looked at Ethan's sleeping face. But I never considered what that power was for. And now I know. His eyes moved to hers. It's for this, for you, for him. Everything else is secondary. Talani felt tears building again. Don't make promises you can't keep. I never do. He reached out, his hand covering hers. This time she didn't pull away. I want to tell you something, he said. About the night I decided to end our marriage. She tensed but didn't interrupt. I came home late. You were sleeping. And I stood in the doorway of our bedroom for 20 minutes, just watching you breathe. His voice thickened. I knew Do-hyuk had photographs of you. I knew he was planning something. And I realized that as long as you were connected to me, you would never be safe. So you cut me out. I thought it was the only way. He shook his head. I didn't know you were pregnant. I didn't know about the blocked calls. I thought, he stopped. I thought you would find someone better. Someone who could give you a normal life. Talani's tears finally spilled over. I didn't want normal. I wanted you. The words broke something inside him. I'm sorry. His voice cracked. I'm so sorry, Talani, for everything I put you through, for every night you spent alone, for every moment you had to be strong when you shouldn't have had to be. She was crying openly now. I hated you. For months. I hated you. I know. But I loved you more. I couldn't stop. He pulled her close, careful not to disturb the sleeping baby between them. His arms wrapped around her, strong, protective, finally where they belonged. I will spend the rest of my life making this right, he promised against her hair. However long it takes, Whatever you need. She cried into his shoulder. All the pain, all the loneliness, all the fear. Finally, she let herself fall apart in someone else's arms. In that moment, something shifted between them. Not forgiveness, that would take more time, but something softer, something that felt like hope. Ethan stirred, his gray eyes blinking open. He looked up at his parents, both of them together, and for the first time in his young life he smiled. A real, genuine, toothless smile. Siwoo felt his heart stop, then start again, stronger than before. He knows, Talani whispered. Siwoo looked at her. Knows what? She met his eyes. That his father finally came home. The compound became their sanctuary in the days that followed. Siwoo adjusted his schedule, delegating more responsibilities to Jaemin so he could spend mornings with Talani and Ethan. The feared chairman of Han Corporation, the man known throughout the underworld as the Shadow Falcon, now found himself learning how to change diapers and prepare bottles. He was terrible at it. Spectacularly terrible. The first time he attempted to feed Ethan, the baby rejected the bottle 3 times before Talani finally intervened. You're holding it at the wrong angle, she said, adjusting his grip. There's an angle? There's always an angle. Ethan latched on immediately once the correction was made. Siwoo stared at his son with something like betrayal. He's testing me. Talani laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was so unexpected, so beautiful, that Siwoo forgot to breathe. She caught him staring and stopped. What? Nothing. He looked away quickly. I missed that sound. The moment stretched between them. Fragile. Hopeful. Then Ethan burped loudly, breaking the spell. Both parents burst into surprised laughter. Progress came in small steps. Talani began eating regular meals again, her strength returning day by day. The dark circles under her eyes faded. Her skin regained its healthy glow. Siwoo noticed every change. He cataloged them like a man memorizing something precious. The way she hummed Nigerian lullabies to Ethan before bed. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was concentrating. The way she still wore the soft colors she had always preferred. Ivory, champagne, dusty rose. As if her elegance was a form of armor. She was rebuilding herself. And he was witnessing it with equal parts admiration and guilt. One evening, she found him in the study. He was reviewing documents, his sleeves rolled up to his elbows. The Korean artwork on his forearms caught the lamplight. The roaring tiger, the soaring phoenix, the ancient temple gates flowing seamlessly across his skin. She knocked softly on the doorframe. He looked up immediately. Is everything okay? Is Ethan? He's fine. Sleeping. She stepped into the room. I wanted to talk. He set the documents aside. Of course. She settled into the chair across from his desk, her long black hair cascading over her shoulders. The cream-colored sweater she wore made her look soft, approachable. Nothing like the scared woman who had flinched away from him in the hospital. I've been thinking, she began slowly, about what Mama Ifioma said. About pride. About partnership. She met his eyes. We were married for 2 years before the divorce. And in all that time, I never really understood your world. I kept you separate from it deliberately. I know. And I accepted that because I trusted you. Her voice hardened slightly. But trust without transparency isn't partnership. It's control. He flinched. You're right. I know I'm right. She leaned forward. If we're going to try again, if there's even a chance of rebuilding what we had, I need to understand. All of it. That world is dangerous, Talani. I'm already in danger. Our son is already in danger. Her jaw tightened. Stop protecting me from information and start including me in decisions. Siwoo studied her face. The woman he had married had been gentle, soft, willing to let him lead. This woman was different, stronger, forged by months of solitary struggle, and somehow impossibly even more beautiful. Ask me anything, he said finally. I'll answer. They talked for 3 hours. She asked about the organization and he told her. The hierarchy, the businesses, the legitimate fronts that concealed underground operations. She asked about his enemies and he explained. The rival syndicates, the government officials who turned blind eyes for the right price, the delicate balance of power that could shift with a single misstep. She asked about Nam Do-hyuk. His face darkened. He came up through the same circles I did. We were allies once, years ago, before I realized the nature of his operations. What operations? Human trafficking. He specializes in it. Siwoo's voice was ice. Women, children. He sells them like commodities. Talani's stomach turned. And you stopped him? I dismantled his supply chains in Korea, cut off his access to ports, turned his own lieutenants against him. Siwoo's hands clenched on the desk. He lost everything because of me. So this is revenge. This is obsession. He met her eyes. He spent 5 years rebuilding, waiting for an opportunity to strike. When he discovered I had a weakness. Me. You. Siwoo nodded. He couldn't touch you directly without starting a war. So he found another way. The divorce. Exactly. If he couldn't hurt you physically, he would hurt us both emotionally. Break us apart. Leave me vulnerable. Talani processed this slowly. And now that he knows about Ethan? Siwoo's expression went cold. Lethal. He has leverage he never anticipated. A son. An heir. Something more valuable than a wife. Fear crept up her spine. What do? We end him. No hesitation. Before he can make another move. The plan took shape over the following week. Siwoo's network stretched across East Asia. A web of informants, contacts, and allied organizations. He activated every resource, calling in favors accumulated over 15 years. Nam Do-hyuk was located. He had been operating from a compound in Busan, protected by a small army of loyal men. But loyalty could be bought, and Siwoo had deep pockets. 3 of his inner circle are willing to flip, Jaemin reported. They're tired of waiting for promised payouts that never come. What do they want? Asylum, new identities, clean starts. Siwoo considered. Arrange it, but I want verified information first. Understood. The intelligence began flowing. Shipping routes, financial accounts, names of corrupt officials on Do-hyuk's payroll. Each piece brought them closer to dismantling the man who had tried to destroy Siwoo's family. But the enemy was not idle. A second photograph arrived at the compound. This time, it showed Talani walking through the courtyard gardens, an image taken from within the property itself. The caption read, "Your walls have eyes." Siwoo's rage was volcanic. Silent. Terrifying. He ordered every staff member detained and questioned. Security footage was reviewed frame by frame. Every delivery, every visitor, every moment of access was scrutinized. The mole was found within 18 hours. A gardener. A man who had worked for the compound for 3 years. His payments matched the pattern used for Park Myun. Siwoo conducted the interrogation himself. The man talked. He talked for a very long time. Talani found Siwoo afterward. He was standing in the private bathroom adjacent to his bedroom, washing his hands. The water ran pink before turning clear. She stopped in the doorway. Is he alive? Siwoo's voice was flat. He'll face authorities for corporate espionage. The evidence will bury him. But you hurt him. He turned off the water, dried his hands, turned to face her. He put you at risk. He put our son at risk. His charcoal eyes were hard. I showed restraint. Talani knew she should be horrified. Some part of her was. But a larger part, the part that had spent 8 months protecting her child alone, understood. I'm not going to apologize for what I am, Siwoo said quietly. But I need you to know that everything I do for you. For Ethan. She held his gaze. I know. Can you live with that? The question hung between them. Heavy. Defining. She stepped closer. Her hand rose. Her fingers brushed against the dragon tattoo visible above his collar. The intricate storm clouds and Magungwa blossoms she remembered tracing so many times before. I married you knowing exactly who you were, she said softly. I didn't leave because of your world, Siwoo. I left because you pushed me out of it. His breath caught. I won't make that mistake again. Then I can live with it. Her eyes met his. All of it. Something released in his chest. A tension he had carried for 8 months. He leaned forward, his forehead pressing against hers. They stood like that for a long moment, breathing together, finally aligned. The following days brought cautious intimacy. Not physical, that wound still needed time to heal, but emotional. They shared meals together, discussed decisions about Ethan's care, talked late into the night about everything and nothing. Talani told him about her pregnancy, the fear when she first saw the positive test, the loneliness of doctor's appointments without a partner, the terror of giving birth alone in a foreign country, surrounded by strangers. Siwoo listened without interruption. His hands clenched so tightly his knuckles went white. Loyal and honor pressed into his palms like accusations. I should have been there, he said when she finished. Yes. I should have protected you. Yes. I failed you in every way that mattered. Yes. Her voice was quiet. But you're here now. That counts for something. He looked at her. Does it? She considered the question honestly. It's a start. Ethan became the bridge between them. The baby seemed to sense the shifting dynamic, responding to both parents with equal enthusiasm. His serious gray eyes tracked their movements around the room. His tiny hands reached for whoever was closest. Siwoo was amazed by him. Every expression, every sound, every small milestone. He smiled at me again, he reported one morning, his voice containing something almost like wonder. Talani glanced up from her design work. She had resumed some freelance projects, her creativity finally returning after months of survival mode. He smiles at everyone now. But he smiled at me specifically. Siwoo. She fought back amusement. He's 8 months old. He doesn't have preferences. He has my eyes. He's clearly intelligent. He definitely has preferences. Despite herself, she laughed. That sound again. The one that made his heart stop. You're ridiculous, she said. Possibly. He lifted Ethan higher, examining his face. But I'm also right. The baby grabbed his nose. Hard. Talani's laughter filled the room. 2 weeks into their stay at the compound, the intelligence operation reached critical mass. Jaemin presented the final briefing. We have everything. Financial records, communication logs, video evidence of Do-hyuk personally overseeing trafficking operations. Enough for the authorities? More than enough. The prosecutor's office is ready to move. They've been building a case for years but lacked the evidence to penetrate his inner circle. Siwoo nodded slowly. Timeline: coordinated raids in 48 hours. Busan, Seoul, Incheon. Every known associate will be detained simultaneously. And Do-hyuk himself? Jaemin hesitated. He's scheduled to be at the Busan compound during the raid. But he has escape routes. If he suspects anything, he won't escape. The certainty in Siwoo's voice left no room for argument. What are you planning, boss? Siwoo's eyes went cold. I'm planning to deliver him personally. Talani learned of the plan that evening. She was not pleased. You're going yourself? Into a hostile compound surrounded by armed men. It has to be me. Why? Because he won't come quietly for anyone else. Siwoo met her eyes. He's obsessed with me. Specifically, if I'm there, he'll focus on me instead of escaping. That's exactly why you shouldn't go. Tolani, you have an army of people who can do this. People trained for exactly this situation. Her voice rose. You don't have to be the one at risk. Yes, I do. She stared at him. Why? He was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was raw. Because he tried to take you from me. He tried to take our son. He spent 5 years planning to destroy everything I love. His jaw tightened. I need to look him in the eyes when it ends. She understood vengeance. She even understood the need for closure. But the fear was overwhelming. What if something happens to you? It won't. You can't promise that. I can promise that I will do everything in my power to come back. He stepped closer, taking her hands. To you, to Ethan, to the life we're rebuilding. Her eyes filled with tears. I just got you back. I know. I can't lose you again. You won't. He pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her. You will never lose me again. She cried into his chest. All the fear, all the love, all the hope she was terrified to feel. Come back to me, she whispered. He pressed a kiss to her hair. Always. The night before the operation, neither could sleep. They sat together in the courtyard, wrapped in blankets against the autumn chill. Stars scattered across the sky above them like scattered diamonds. Ethan slept peacefully in his nursery, monitored by cameras and guards. Tell me about your family, Siwoo said suddenly. Tolani looked at him in surprise. My family? You rarely talked about them, even during our marriage. She was quiet for a moment. It hurt too much. Tell me now. She drew a breath. My father died when I was 12. Heart attack. No warning. Her voice was distant. My mother raised 4 children alone after that. She worked 3 jobs, just like I did. She sounds strong. She was. She is. Talani smiled sadly. She didn't approve of you, you know. When I told her I was marrying a Korean man she had never met. Smart woman. She said I was too trusting. That I couldn't see people's flaws because I only looked for their goodness. Siwoo was silent. She was right, Talani continued. I saw the man you showed me, the tender moments, the protection, the love. I didn't see the secrets you were keeping. I should have let you see everything. Yes. She leaned against his shoulder. But I should have demanded it, instead of just accepting what you gave me. They sat in comfortable silence. The stars wheeled slowly overhead. I want to meet her, Siwoo said eventually. Talani's head lifted. My mother. Your whole family. Properly. The way I should have from the beginning. Her heart swelled. They'll interrogate you. I expect nothing less. My brothers will threaten you. I welcome the opportunity to earn their respect. She laughed softly. You're really serious. I've never been more serious about anything. He turned to face her. If I survive tomorrow. When? When I survive tomorrow, he corrected. I want us to start over. Completely. I want to court you properly. Meet your family. Rebuild everything we lost. Her eyes glistened. That's a lot of promises. I have a lot of making up to do. She reached out, her hand cupping his cheek. Come back to me, she said again. And we'll see. He turned his head, pressing a kiss to her palm. That's enough for now. Dawn arrived too quickly. Siwoo dressed in silence, black tactical gear instead of his usual tailored suit. The transformation was startling. The corporate chairman vanished, replaced by something far more dangerous. Talani watched from the doorway of their room. You look like a stranger. This is who I was before you. He strapped a holster to his thigh. Before you made me want to be something better. You are something better. He paused, turned to face her. Not yet, but I'm trying. She crossed the room and kissed him. Soft, desperate, full of everything she couldn't put into words. When she pulled back, his eyes were slightly dazed. What was that for? Motivation. Her voice trembled. To come home. He pressed his forehead to hers. I love you. I should have said it more often. I should have said it every day. Tell me again when you get back. I will. He stepped away, his expression hardening into the mask of the shadow falcon. I promise. He walked out the door. Talani stood frozen, praying to every god she knew that she hadn't just said goodbye. The Busan operation commenced at midnight. Coordinated teams moved on 6 locations simultaneously. Police and special forces worked alongside Siwoo's organization in an unprecedented alliance, one that would never be officially acknowledged. Nam Do-hyuk's compound was the primary target. Siwoo led the assault personally. The estate was heavily fortified, but the intelligence they had gathered proved accurate. Guard positions, security systems, escape routes, all compromised from within. Resistance crumbled within 15 minutes. Siwoo moved through the chaos like a specter, silent, lethal, unstoppable. His men followed in his wake, securing rooms and neutralizing threats. They found Do-hyuk in his private study. The man was shorter than Siwoo remembered, grayer, older, but his eyes still burned with the same malevolent intelligence. Han Siwoo. Do-hyuk's voice was calm despite the armed men surrounding him. I wondered when you would come yourself. You should have stayed hidden. And missed this. Do-hyuk smiled. I've been waiting 5 years. Your waiting is over. Guards moved forward to secure the older man. But Do-hyuk raised a hand. Before you drag me away like a common criminal, there's something you should know. Siwoo's expression didn't change. I already know everything. Do you? Do-hyuk's smile widened. Do you know that your pretty Nigerian wife begged me not to hurt you? Siwoo froze. Oh yes, she came to me shortly before your divorce. Offered herself in exchange for your safety. You're lying. Am I? Do-hyuk laughed. She was so desperate, so naive. She thought she could negotiate with me. Thought her sacrifice would protect you. Rage built in Siwoo's chest. Cold. Volcanic. What did you do to her? Nothing. I turned her away. What use was a willing hostage? Do-hyuk shrugged. But the information she gave me about your schedule, your habits, your vulnerabilities, that proved useful. She didn't know. She knew enough. And she loved you enough to risk everything. Do-hyuk's eyes glittered. Did you know that, Chairman Han? Your wife loved you so much that she walked into the lion's den to save you. And you rewarded her by throwing her away. Siwoo's fist connected with Do-hyuk's face before anyone could react. The older man crumpled. Guards rushed forward, pulling Siwoo back. Boss! Boss! He's not worth it. Siwoo was breathing hard. His knuckles throbbed, loyal split and bleeding. Get him out of my sight, he ordered. They dragged Do-hyuk away. Siwoo stood alone in the study, his mind reeling. She had tried to protect him. She had gone to his enemy alone to save him. And he had never known. The flight back to Seoul was silent. Jaemin sat beside his boss, wise enough not to speak. Siwoo stared out the window at the darkness below. Everything he thought he knew about the divorce was wrong. Talani hadn't been passive. She hadn't simply accepted her fate. She had fought. In her own way, with the only weapons she had fought. And he had been too blind to see it. He arrived at the compound as dawn broke. Talani was waiting in the courtyard, wrapped in a pale pink robe. She must have been there all night. When she saw him emerge from the car, alive, whole, walking toward her, she started running. They collided in the middle of the garden. Her arms wrapped around his neck, his wrapped around her waist. Neither spoke for a long time. You came back, she finally whispered. I promised. She pulled back, examining his face. Her eyes caught on his split knuckles. What happened? Do-hyuk is in custody. The operation was successful. That's not what I asked. Siwoo took a breath. He told me something. About you. Her face paled. What? He told me you went to him, before the divorce. That you offered yourself to protect me. Talani's eyes dropped. He told you. Is it true? Silence stretched between them. Then, quietly, yes. Siwoo's heart cracked. Why didn't you tell me? Tell you what? She looked up, tears streaming. That I was so desperate to save our marriage that I went to your enemy? That I was so naive I thought I could negotiate with a monster? Tolani. I was ashamed. Her voice broke. I thought if I could just talk to him, make him understand that we weren't a threat. You were never a threat. I know that now. She wiped her face angrily. I know I was stupid. I know I made things worse. But I was trying to fight for us, Siwoo. The only way I knew how. He pulled her close again, held her tight. You were never stupid. You were brave. His voice was rough. Braver than I deserved. She cried into his shoulder. I should have told you. I should have given you reason to trust me with the truth. They held each other as the sun rose. Two broken people, finally beginning to heal. The days following the operation were transformative. Nam Do-hyuk's organization crumbled. Arrests mounted across the country. The trafficking networks he had built over decades were dismantled piece by piece. The media exploded with coverage. Siwoo's name appeared in every article, not as a suspect, but as an anonymous source who had provided crucial evidence. His corporate identity remained intact, but those who knew. The Shadow Falcon had struck, and his enemies were finally destroyed. With the external threat neutralized, Siwoo turned his attention to rebuilding his family. He started with small gestures. Flowers delivered to Talani's room every morning. Handwritten notes left on her pillow. Nigerian dishes prepared by a chef he hired specifically for the purpose. She noticed everything. "You're courting me," she observed one evening, as they shared dinner in the courtyard. "I said I would. We were already married. We're not anymore." He met her eyes. "So I'm starting from the beginning." Her heart fluttered. "This feels strange." "Good strange or bad strange?" She considered. "Good strange, I think." He smiled. An actual smile. She had forgotten how rare those were. How beautiful. Weeks passed. The courtship continued. Siwoo learned her new preferences, the herbal teas she had discovered during pregnancy, the music she played for Ethan, the design projects that excited her. She learned his routines, the early morning exercises, the meditation practices that kept his temper controlled, the quiet moments he stole with their son when he thought no one was watching. They were becoming strangers who knew each other intimately, rediscovering familiar territory with fresh eyes. One night, Talani appeared in his study doorway. She wore a soft sage green dress that flowed to her ankles. Her hair was loose, cascading down her back in a silk curtain. She looked ethereal. "I need to tell you something," she said. He set aside his work immediately. "What is it?" She moved into the room, settling into the chair across from him. "I've been thinking about what comes next. For us." His heart rate accelerated. "And I want to try again." Her voice was steady, certain. "Not just for Ethan. For me. For us." He leaned forward. "Are you sure?" "I've been sure for weeks." She smiled softly. "I was just afraid to say it." "What changed?" "You did." She met his eyes. "Not who you are. You've always been this person. But how you show it. The patience. The consistency. The effort." He stood slowly, moved around the desk, knelt before her chair. "I will never stop trying," he said. "For as long as you'll have me." Her hand cupped his face. "Then I'll have you forever." He kissed her, properly this time, deep and tender and full of promise. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. "There's something else," she whispered. "Tell me. I want you to meet my family, properly, like you said." His heart soared. "When?" "Soon. I've already called my mother." "And?" Talani laughed. "She said she'll reserve judgment until she meets you in person." "That's terrifying." "It should be." Her eyes sparkled. "My brothers are worse." Siwoo smiled. "I'll survive." The trip to Nigeria happened 3 weeks later. It was Siwoo's first time in Africa. Lagos overwhelmed his senses. The heat, the noise, the vibrant chaos of 20 million people living at full volume. But Talani moved through it like water. She was home, watching her here, relaxed, laughing, speaking rapid Yoruba with market vendors. Siwoo fell in love with her all over again. The Ajayi family compound was in a quieter suburb. A large house surrounded by gardens, filled with aunties, uncles, cousins, and enough food to feed an army. Talani's mother met them at the gate. Aduni Ajayi was a small woman with sharp eyes and an aura of absolute authority. She examined Siwoo like a hawk examining potential prey. "So," she said finally, "you're the one who made my daughter cry." "Yes, ma'am." "And you're here to make it right." "Yes, ma'am." She studied him a moment longer. Then her eyes dropped to Ethan, cradled in Talani's arms. The baby blinked at his grandmother with his serious gray eyes. Something in Aduni's expression softened. "He looks like his father." "Unfortunately," Talani muttered. "Fortunately," her mother corrected. He'll be handsome, and serious, and probably just as stubborn. She reached for the baby. Ethan went willingly. Welcome to the family, Chairman Han. Her tone was still cautious. Provisionally. I'll earn the permanence, ma'am. She almost smiled. Almost. We'll see. The week in Lagos was transformative. Siwoo endured interrogations from 3 protective brothers, skeptical glances from countless relatives, and an endless series of meals where his ability to handle Nigerian spices was thoroughly tested. He survived it all. More than survived, he thrived. By the end of the week, even Talani's most suspicious uncle was grudgingly impressed. He's not what I expected, Uncle Chitty admitted during a family dinner. I thought all these Korean business types were cold. He has layers, Talani said. Like an onion? Like an onion with a very protective shell. Siwoo overheard and smiled into his palm wine. On their last night in Lagos, Siwoo found Adunni alone in the garden. He approached carefully. May I speak with you, ma'am? She gestured to the bench beside her. He sat. I know I don't deserve your daughter, he began. You're right, you don't. But I love her, more than I've ever loved anything. And I swear to you, I will spend every day of my life protecting her and Ethan. Adunni was quiet for a long moment. My husband died when Talani was 12, she said finally. Heart attack. No warning. One day he was here, the next he was gone. I'm sorry. I raised 4 children alone after that. Worked myself nearly to death. But I did it because that's what family requires. Sacrifice. She turned to face him. Talani sacrificed everything for you. Her home, her country, her family. And when things got hard, you sent her away. Siwoo's throat tightened. I know. Don't know. Understand. Her voice was fierce. She is not a burden to be protected from. She is a partner to stand beside. If you can't see her as an equal, you don't deserve to see her at all. I understand. Now. Good. She stood. Then perhaps you're not completely hopeless. She walked away. Siwoo sat alone in the garden. Humbled, grateful, determined to prove himself worthy. They returned to Seoul as a united front. The compound in Gyeonggi province was no longer necessary. The threats had been eliminated, and the surveillance networks dismantled. Siwoo moved them into a new penthouse. Not the corporate tower. Somewhere fresh. Somewhere without ghosts. The space was modern but warm, designed by Talani herself. Soft colors, elegant furniture, spaces that flowed together like a home should. Ethan's nursery occupied the sunniest corner. It was perfect. 3 months after Nigeria, Siwoo planned his proposal. He had technically already been married to this woman. But as he had promised, he was starting from the beginning. The location was significant, the same rooftop where they had first met 5 years earlier. A charity gala that he had attended reluctantly, where a beautiful Nigerian architecture student had accidentally spilled champagne on his $7,000 suit. She had apologized profusely. He had fallen in love on the spot. Talani arrived at the rooftop to find it transformed. Candles everywhere. Flowers, Magungwa blossoms and Nigerian hibiscus, intertwined. A string quartet playing softly in the corner. And Siwoo, standing in the center. For once, he wasn't wearing black. His suit was deep navy, elegant and refined. His hair was still perfectly slicked back. His gray eyes caught the candlelight and seemed to glow. He looked nervous. Han Siwoo, the Shadow Falcon, terror of the Korean underworld, looked genuinely nervous. Talani's heart melted. What is this? A second chance. He extended his hand. Come here. She walked toward him slowly. Her dress was champagne silk, flowing around her like liquid gold. Her long black hair was pinned up elegantly, revealing the graceful curve of her neck. She looked like a queen, his queen. When she reached him, he took both her hands. 5 years ago, I met a woman who spilled champagne on my favorite suit. She laughed softly. I thought you were going to have me thrown out. I was going to ask for your number. He smiled. But you ran away before I could. I was embarrassed. You were beautiful. You still are. His expression grew serious. We've made mistakes, Talani. Both of us. We've hurt each other in ways that can't be undone. But standing here, holding your hands, I know one thing with absolute certainty. What? He lowered himself to one knee. I don't want to face another day without you. Her breath caught. He released one of her hands to pull out a small velvet box. Inside was a ring, elegant platinum band, cushion-cut diamonds surrounded by smaller stones in a pattern that evoked both Korean and Nigerian design elements. Custom-made. One of a kind. Like her. Talani Ajayi, will you marry me? Again? Properly this time. With your family's blessing and my complete devotion. Tears streamed down her face. Yes. He slid the ring onto her finger. Rose pulled her into his arms. Kissed her like she was oxygen and he had been drowning for years. The string quartet swelled. Somewhere in the city below, fireworks exploded. Perfect timing. Or maybe he had arranged that too. The wedding took place 4 months later. Not a simple courthouse signing. Not a hurried ceremony. A celebration. The venue was a historic estate outside Seoul, transformed for the occasion into a fusion of Korean and Nigerian cultures. Traditional Korean screens stood alongside vibrant Ankara fabrics. Korean drummers performed alongside Nigerian musicians. The guest list included Siwoo's most trusted associates, Talani's entire extended family, and Mama Ifeoma, who had earned a position of honor beside Adunni. Both mothers cried through the entire ceremony. Siwoo waited at the altar in a traditional Korean hanbok, modernized with Western elements. The fabric was deep black with subtle gray embroidery. His hair was perfect. His tattoos were hidden beneath the formal attire. He looked every inch the powerful chairman. But his hands trembled. Jaemin noticed. Nervous, boss. Terrified. Of what? You've already been married to her. This time it matters. The music shifted. The doors opened, and Talani appeared. She wore a dress that defied description. White silk with Nigerian lace details, Korean-inspired silhouette, flowing train that seemed to float behind her like clouds. Her hair was down, cascading over her shoulders in that sleek jet-black curtain he loved. She carried a bouquet of magungwa blossoms and white Nigerian lilies. And she was looking at him like he was the only person in the world. Siwoo forgot to breathe. The ceremony blended traditions, Korean vows, Nigerian blessings, a unity ritual that involved sharing palm wine from a carved wooden cup. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, the crowd erupted. Korean guests bowed respectfully. Nigerian guests cheered and danced. Siwoo pulled Talani into his arms and kissed her until the cheering turned to laughter. We're married again, she whispered against his lips. Finally. No more divorce? Never. His voice was fierce. Never again. She smiled. Good. Because I have no intention of letting you go. The reception was legendary. Food from both cultures. Dancing that lasted until dawn. Speeches that ranged from tearfully sentimental to hilariously embarrassing. Mama Ifeoma's speech stole the show. I told these two that pride would be their downfall, she announced to the crowd. Look at them now. Too proud to admit they're perfect for each other, but too in love to stay apart. Laughter rippled through the guests. Marriage is not easy. It is compromise and communication and choosing your partner every single day. She raised her glass. But when you find someone worth choosing, you hold on. With both hands. Forever. Applause thundered. Siwoo and Talani lifted their own glasses in salute. Near midnight, Siwoo snuck away from the celebrations. He found Ethan in the nursery they had set up for the reception. Now almost 12 months old, standing unsteadily in his crib, those familiar gray eyes watching his father approach. You should be sleeping, Siwoo said softly. Ethan reached up. Siwoo lifted him, cradling the boy against his chest. Your mother and I got married today. Officially. Properly. He paused. Again. Ethan grabbed his father's ear. I'm going to be better this time. I'm going to be the father you deserve. The husband she deserves. His voice dropped. I promise. The baby yawned, unimpressed. Siwoo smiled. Tough audience. He gets that from you. He turned. Talani stood in the doorway, still in her wedding dress, watching them with soft eyes. I was just explaining the situation to him. I heard. She moved closer, joining them in a small circle. You know he won't remember any of this. I'll remember. Siwoo pressed a kiss to Ethan's forehead. I'll remember everything. They stood together in the quiet nursery. Husband, wife, and son. Family. Complete at last. 1 year later, on their anniversary, Siwoo stood in the same spot. But this time, the nursery held 2 cribs. Ethan, now a toddler with his father's serious expression, slept peacefully in his bed. Beside him, in a matching crib, slept his baby sister, Adiz Han, named for Talani's grandmother. A beautiful girl with her mother's hazel eyes and her father's stubbornness. Siwoo looked at his children, his wife, his life. He thought about the phone call that had changed everything. The rain that night in Seoul. The divorce papers he had signed with a broken heart. The 8 months of separation that had almost destroyed them both. And now this, a second chance he had never expected to receive. Talani appeared beside him, slipping her hand into his. What are you thinking about? How close we came to losing this. She squeezed his fingers. But we didn't. No. He turned to face her. We didn't. Outside the nursery window, Seoul glittered like scattered diamonds. The city that had witnessed their love, their loss, and their reunion stretched endlessly beneath the stars. I love you, he said simply. I know. She smiled. I love you too. No more secrets? No more secrets. No more pride. Well, her eyes sparkled. Maybe a little pride. I did manage to tame the shadow falcon. He laughed. A genuine, unguarded laugh. The sound startled Ethan awake. The toddler blinked at his parents with familiar gray eyes, then smiled. Appa, he said clearly. Iyama. First words. Siwoo's heart stopped. Talani gasped. Did he just? He did. Siwoo lifted his son, spinning him gently. He absolutely did. Ethan giggled. Adiz stirred. And in that moment, surrounded by his family, Han Siwoo finally understood. Power meant nothing without love. Empires were worthless without legacy. And second chances were the greatest gift life could offer. He held his son close, reached for his wife's hand, and vowed silently to protect this happiness forever. The shadow falcon had found his peace. The Nigerian flower had found her home. And somewhere between 2 cultures, 2 hearts, and 2 chances at forever, they had built something unbreakable. Family. A future. A love that refused to die. Please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to comment where you're watching from so I can see just how far across the world this story has reached.